Authoritarian leadership doesn't work, and the reason it doesn't work is because it's the voluntary sector. The clue's in the name. It's a voluntary thing, and people often come to a organisation, a charity or a community group because of a passion or a cause. They want to do it, they're called to do it, and therefore you need to take people with you. You can't give out instructions. You need to be able to negotiate with people. You need to take people on side. You've got to relate to their passion. You've got to relate to the cause, and in that way, you're more likely people to have followers to your lead. For me, it's about, prefer to think about it as like percolated leadership. So it's about setting an example. It's about, again, adhering to the mission or the cause of the charity and setting good examples, good methods of practice, which everybody follows. So in other words, you don't have to tell people what to do. I mean, that just wouldn't work. You can't have loads of policies and procedures because although you need them, it's not something you can rely on. It needs to be something that's taken into people's hearts. People want to be there. They want to take a part. They want to have some autonomy in their actions. And so shared leadership is about making sure that a set of standards or a culture is endemic across the organisation so that people can make lots of leadership decisions themselves, and you know broadly that they're going to follow the line of the organisation or the culture of the organisation because of the way it's set. I've often been heard saying that I wish I was an octopus, and what I mean by that is I wish sometimes I had 8 arms to carry a particular load. Often with shared leadership, it's a way of getting those extra arms. I can't be an octopus, but if I can work in a shared way, in a shared leadership model, you're more likely to get more people to help spread the load and to take a role in delivering that mission and those values, and to take a role in the whole delivery of a project. Collaborative working, it sounds nice and simple, but it rarely is. It's often messy. Often people come with different organisational cultures, different understandings, often with different outcomes that they're trying to achieve. And it's exciting because what happens is when you bring people together with different organisations, especially in the voluntary sector, you've got to be able to mix it up a little bit. You've got to be able to stand back and be able to be open to learning different ways of doing things or different approaches. So it is collaborative leadership and collaborative working is often messy, it's often a surprise, but the good news is that you often get outcomes that you couldn't have envisaged yourself. And so there is a plus side. It takes a bit more effort, it takes a bit more work, it takes a lot more energy, it takes a lot of understanding, it takes a lot of listening, but you are likely to get better outcomes. You're likely to have shared partnerships that last beyond the particular project, and you're likely to discover things that you didn't know or solutions you didn't understand would exist by doing it. And being exposed to other cultures and other organisations is always exciting, and is always a chance that you might be able to absorb things from those organisations and in some ways infect the other organisations too, so that you're in a changed place, which is an exciting place to be in. Well, we're kind of in a place of post-experts, it seems, which means that often that expert view that an organisation thinks it holds has gone, and you can then work with other organisations that have a different expertise, a different piece of understanding. And that is one way that you can assure that you are learning all the time, because you are exposing yourself to many, many other experiences, other data sets, other bits of knowledge. I mean, also, I think it's important for charitable organisations, voluntary organisations, because there are very sparse resources, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, is that you need to be true to your main reason for being, your main cause, and you need to let go of things that actually are probably best shared. So that's not just about back office, it is about learning together. We have, as a community foundation, we rely on intelligence from many, many organisations and many, many networks, because we ourselves can't know everything we need to know. So by working in close partnership with other organisations, you get a much deeper understanding about what's going on and what works. And for us, it makes our funding go much, much further if we can support other funders. We can put a bit of our funding with a bit of somebody else's funding, and you bring 2 or 3 organisations together that have got different expertises, you are more likely to get a better set of results, a more refined, a more bespoke, a more matched, a more precise set of outcomes or services that you can then provide. So we always like to encourage organisations to work together, not just for funding, but because it does give better outcomes. You do make greater impact if you bring the right people to the table and try to get them to create the right solutions. Being a community foundation, we're in a position where we have to make quite a lot of judgments about not just the project that's brought before us for funding, but also about the capacity of the organisation to deliver it. And our view was working with the OU in this programme was an excellent way of enhancing leadership and capacity within organisations to deliver what they want. It's all very well having, you can have all the dreams in the world, and have all the passion in the world, but if you don't have the skills and the practical resources to deliver it, it helps no one. So, developing leadership, developing collaboration, and developing a sense of where organisations are working together and learning from each other is an absolute plus. And it enables us as a community foundation to be able to fund more good things to happen. And that's what we exist for. We don't exist for ourselves, we only exist to fund organisations and to support philanthropists who want to make change happen in this place in Milton Keynes. So having good leaders, well trained and on that learning journey continuously is the way to do it. So it's very, very important for the community foundations in Milton Keynes and across the UK to support learning in the sector. You've asked me particularly about the benefits that we perceive through the programme, and I can think of a particular example of a group that we had an application for that we didn't feel that we could support through funding. We, working with our infrastructure organisation and with the OU, we suggested that they took part in the course. That organisation then was funded in the year that happened, and they managed to put on a very large festival in one of our central parks here in Campbell Park for a very large and under-supported diverse community. I think it was partly some cultural stuff about applications and the process and making judgments they didn't understand. They also didn't perhaps understand the importance of some of the policies and processes that we needed around safeguarding to ensure what they was doing, which I'm sure was absolutely brilliant and absolutely safe, but they needed to guarantee that and evidence that. And again, through involvement in the programme, they moved from an organisation that we couldn't support to an organisation that we could support. And that is a great outcome. Plus the fact, of course, they attracted major funding, and there was a big festival put on in Milton Keynes where thousands of people took part. That couldn't have happened. Well, I think the OU is an important institution in the city. It's one of the largest employers in Milton Keynes, and actually this area of work, working with the voluntary community culture sector, is really important. And the fact that a lot of it is being, some of it is being tested in Milton Keynes is very valuable. And I know the sector very much values that partnership with the OU.